The snack bar is open.
All right, tonight we have a historic week of drive-in theater. We have, first of all, what is probably one of the most famous horror movies in history, if not the most famous, and I want you to take a close look at the faces of my guests tonight. You might not recognize them right away, but when I tell you the title of tonight's movie, I think you will. Night of the Living Dead. This is very exciting for me, because joining me tonight for the 25th anniversary cast reunion of the great Ghoul classic filmed in Pittsburgh, the movie that made zombies what they are in this country today, are 4 of the 5 stars of the picture: Judy O'Day, to my left here, Carl Hardman,
Howdy.
Marilyn Eastman,
That's me.
and Keith Wayne. Now, actually, he was known as Keith Wayne when the picture was made. Today, he is Dr. Keith Hartman, North Carolina chiropractor.
Thank you very much.
And then we also have with us, and this, by the way, is a world record for the number of guests we're trying to fit on this one set. We have Tom Savini down here at the end, best known as the finest special effects makeup whiz working today. He put the gore in movies like Friday the 13th, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Maniac, many other films. But he's with us tonight because he is also a director. He was actually handpicked by George Romero, a friend of George Romero, to do the remake of Night of the Living Dead, which came out in 1990, and which is our second feature tonight. So thanks, everybody, for being here. The longest introduction I've ever done.
Our pleasure. Yeah. Go Bob. Yeah, terrific.
Where do you start on something like this? I want to start with you, Judy, since you are in the very first scene of the movie, and there may be a few people out there tonight who have never seen Night of the Living Dead. So maybe if we identify the characters as we go along, it'll be more fun for them. You play the character of Barbara in the movie. Did you have any idea when you got this part that this would become a worldwide classic movie?
Marilyn and I were talking about that in the green room, and I asked her the same question. She said, "Oh, yes. Yes." I knew. No, I had no idea.
Do people ever recognize you and say,
with my short hair? It's long in the movie. It's amazing. They may not recognize right away, but then when somebody mentions it, it's just incredible how many people have seen it, and they're wonderful.
Well, it must be thrilling once they realize who you are.
It is incredible.
Wherever you can. And one of the things that we were able to conserve on was the fact that I was an actor. Well,
you were actually a famous child actor, right? I mean, I've read this. Is this? Well, you were on a very famous show called Let's Pretend.
Going back,
doing radio dramas back in New York City.
That's true.
And so,
so it was a natural thing that I should become.
Obviously, you don't
Harry
like to talk
Cooper.
about it. Okay.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Joe Bob, and it was 4 or 5 years ago, anyway.
Very kind of you to mention that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
Yeah, man.
Marilyn Eastman.
Yeah.
You also have a long history as a stage actress, and you're not only Carl's wife in the movie, but you've been Carl's partner for some years.
30 years.
30 years.
Yes.
And how did you get involved?
Well,
Careful.
when Leighton Dimage called us and said, we understand the latest project you guys were working on has failed, so you're probably not very busy. And we said, that's right. This was a morning radio show that we were doing, comedy radio show. And we did not sign a renewal contract, so we were just left kind of high and dry. We didn't know what to do. And they said, do you want to make a movie? And we said, sure, we want to make a movie, as long as we get parts.
And you two had an audio production company in Pittsburgh. Still do, right?
And we still do.
The same company still exists.
Right.
And you also did a lot of the ghoul makeup in the movie?
Yes.
I understand.
I did the straight makeup.
And you were a ghoul?
And I also played a ghoul on days when ghouls were short.
For those who haven't seen the movie before, Marilyn is the ghoul who eats the insect.
Right, I'm the one at the tree with the hair right down over my face, so that in a close-up people wouldn't realize that it was Helen Cooper, which was the straight part that I played, because that would have been very confusing. I also did the costuming for the ghouls, which just meant rummaging around in everybody's attic and finding clothing.
Yeah.
And I carried water for the toilet. That was probably one of my best.
You're naked with your hair on fire, right?
Yes, that was me.
And I understand that you're with the, you still work with the Civic Light Opera in Pittsburgh.
Yes, sometimes I do some roles with CLO.
Okay.
And I do extra work in movies. There are a lot of movies being made in Pittsburgh these days.
Okay, great. Okay. Dr. Hartman.
Yes, sir.
How could you do it to us? How could you be the most famous guy ever blown up in a George Romero movie and then choose to be a chiropractor instead of an actor?
Answer that one, man.
Well, God, boy, that's a big question. I'll tell you. In 15 seconds or less. Well, I decided that I wanted to have just a regular life.
Yeah.
Just to be a regular person. And I was fortunate enough to, when I was entertaining, I met a gorgeous woman who decided to make her life with me. And I have a 14-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter. And I have
about Ronnie.
I didn't make you...
Oh, Ronnie and the Jesters. No.
You were a nightclub singer at the time that you got this role. And what can you tell us about that?
Well, the best I can recall is that it was an interesting, when they screened me for the film.
He's got himself in a box.
Yes, I've got myself in a box here, and I can't make myself out of this box. And I'm doing the best I can. Okay, go. Roll. Okay. Anyway, they called me, and I was at the beach, and I was working, and they said, please come up here and do this film. Because we looked at your screen test, and you look good, and we want you to do this movie. And I said, hey, send me the $1,500 and the contract, and I did it. And
you ended up being you were telling me earlier.
Only paid person.
The only person that got paid because
These
everyone
guys,
else
nobody got no money.
Had a piece of the movie, and you just got your money up front.
I asked my father, the mill worker. He said, take the money, son.
So, and also now, I should mention, you have a big emotional scene in the movie, which I understand was written like about 30 minutes before you actually did it, like at 5 a.m. I said, we won't give away the scene, but you don't remember it all, do you?
Not at all. You see this. You see these eyes. They're vacant. They're vacant, Joe Bob. They're vacant.
Okay.
No, really.
Okay.
He's right.
He's right? Is he right?
It's a famous story about the movie. And obviously you weren't around the writers at the time. But now, and let me ask you about one more thing. Another person who's not here is Judith Ridley, who played your girlfriend in the movie. Do you ever see Judith? Do you ever know what happened to Judith?
I have no idea.
Okay.
I'd like to see her again.
Still in Pittsburgh.
She's still in Pittsburgh.
It would be wonderful.
Just
like seeing these people again, Joe Bob. For you to bring us together is a real, for me personally.
Will never be the same.
Hey, we're the ones that are thrilled. We're the ones that are thrilled.
They closed the hotel after the reunion in the lobby because we made terrible scene, and we mentioned your name a lot.
Oh, well,
they would know who to blame.
We said you were responsible for everything that happened.
Okay, finally.
Destruction.
All right, Keith, all right. Finally, we got Tom Savini. Tom, do you know all these people, by the way?
Yes.
Already? Yes. Okay.
I just met him, though.
Okay, well, we're going to have plenty of time between the two movies to talk more about what went on during the filming of what many consider the greatest horror film ever made. But let me ask you first, Tom, what do you think made this film that we're about to watch such a great flick?
Well, there were so many new, at the time, there were new things happening. As you said earlier in the green room, the death of Marilyn by the daughter, child with a trowel. I mean, they hadn't seen anything like that. Then movies like that, well, splatter movies, let's say. That you could call this the first splatter movie. The last 10, 15 years have been crazy with splatter movies. Thank God they're ending and the creatures are coming back. But it was that, it was the black and white, and it was, okay, there was a lot of errors in the film. There was no continuity of it, you know what I'm saying?
What do you mean by that?
No, but it gave a spontaneous, real kind of a documentary sort of a feel to it.
You thought maybe Maniacs made this movie because you had a 16-millimeter handheld camera, kind of grainy.
Exactly. It was documented. There was overlapping dialogue. It's all those wonderful little directorial things that people try to do to make you feel that it's real, and it had it all.
Great. Okay, all right. Well, let's watch it, and then we'll continue our 25th anniversary celebration. I have some questions to ask everybody, but I don't want to give away the plot. For those who haven't seen it, there may be a few. So here we go. The movie Roger Ebert hated so much that he wrote an article for Reader's Digest condemning it. The one, the only, the original. It's not rated, Night of the Living Dead. Yay! Yay! You know, every time I watch that movie, it still gets to me there at the end when Ben gets it in the forehead. It's so shocking and sudden. But Night of the Living Dead, filmed in Pittsburgh, and actually Evans City, Pennsylvania, just outside Pittsburgh, in 1967, and still terrifying after all these years. And here are the people you've been watching. They're magically alive again. Judy O'Day, who played Barbara in the film, Carl Hardman as Harry, Marilyn Eastman as Helen, and Keith Wayne, now known as Dr. R. Keith Hardman, as Tom. And we don't know where Judith Ridley is, who played Judy. She's back in Pittsburgh or something. We couldn't get her on the show. And I mentioned earlier, Dwayne Jones, who played the lead role of Ben, passed away recently, a very real loss. And also with us is Tom Savini, who directed our second movie tonight, the 1990 remake of Night of the Living Dead. Yeah. So, I mean, you two were investors, so how did this, why make a movie in Pittsburgh on this subject?
It was something to do.
No, everybody, all of us were in the business. We were all in advertising and promotion and publicity, and of course the ultimate dream is to make a movie.
Sure.
And also to make enough money to make better and better films. I think that was one of the original goals.
Did you just want to make any movie, or?
No.
No?
No, we, first of all, we determined that, yes, we do want to make a movie. Okay, what kind of a movie do you want to make? A horror movie, because that we can do. That we can do. They make money, right? And
you
the
don't
latent
have to
image.
be a good actor.
Yeah, right.
You can blink a lot.
The Latent Image was in the film business. They were a film.
Latent Image was the production company owned by George Romero and John Russo and some
Russell
Streiner.
And Hardman Associates, which was our company at the time, was also in the film business, doing commercials, doing industrial films. So we had a lot of hardware, which we didn't have to rent or buy.
You had a lot of cameras and lights and cables.
Cameras, lights, recorders, even microphones. Yes, we had microphones, and we we had all done some acting. So, yeah, we just got together.
Now, speaking of acting, who invented that zombie walk? Who choreographed those zombies? Because every zombie since that movie has had to walk that same way.
Unfortunately.
It wasn't June Taylor.
It's the Maryland. It's the Maryland. It's the Maryland walk.
No, I didn't have anything to do with it.
Of course not.
I think people just figured dead people would walk like
how do dead people walk?
Well,
the dead people I know walk like this.
Real
I
slow.
think that's the way
came
they
with the
did
wrong
it.
walk, so we had to give classes. Okay, don't drag the left leg, you know. But everyone wanted to drag their left leg, but we had to give classes on my film on how to walk like a zombie. There's a good song there somewhere, isn't there?
What caused?
like a zombie.
Let me ask you this. It's not entirely clear from the film, but what caused all the zombies to rise at once and take over the
probe? That's very clear.
It is the Venus probe.
Yes.
Of course.
No, it was a virus.
See, I don't think it's clear from the movie. I don't think anyone really knows why the zombies rise. But what I wonder is that because you didn't ever figure out why the zombies were going to rise?
No.
Or you didn't want anybody to know why the zombies showed up?
The zombies arose because the Venus probe, which had been shot out to Venus, was returning to Earth, and it had picked up some mysterious radiation. So rather than let it get close to the Earth and infect all the populace of the Earth, it was exploded in space, and some of the pieces floated down to Earth in specific areas around the country and infected.
Did you get all that? Oh, I never knew that. So,
and how many times have you seen the film?
I never knew that.
And all the dead people who weren't buried then became zombies.
Right.
Well, okay.
If you were 6 feet under, it was okay. You weren't affected.
Okay, now I have to ask you something else. A lot of people have made a big deal about the hero of the movie being a black man. But that was just more or less a coincidence, I understand, right?
Yes, he auditioned like everybody else did, and he was the best actor.
So it was truly colorblind casting. It wasn't, you weren't trying to make a message or anything.
And yet that's one of the things that made it unique at that point in time.
Yes. At that point in time.
But if you ever read Roger Ebert's review of the movie in 1968, I think it was, he refers to Dwayne all the way through as the Negro. And then the Negro enters the scene, and boards up the windows.
So Roger wasn't exactly colorblind in the way he
No,
watched it.
it's very strange. And I'm sure he didn't mean disrespect at the time, but it was very, very strange.
Another thing, Carl and Marilyn, that was really your real-life daughter down there in the cellar, right?
Yeah, my daughter.
Your
My
daughter.
right.
Oh, okay. How did you tell your daughter she had to eat the flesh of her daddy?
Oh, boy.
I want to hear this one.
Yeah, this is good. Oh.
It really wasn't any problem at all. I said, here's what you have to do. I'm going to lose, well, we've seen it, yes. I'm going to lose my arm, and you've become a ghoul, so we're going to give this hoagie to you, and you pretend it's my arm, and you just eat the hoagie.
Was it
with
a
lots?
hoagie?
Yes, it was,
Yeah.
it was a hoagie.
What was on
wasn't
it? Chocolate syrup? Or
Chocolate syrup.
Bosco.
Bosco.
Pretend it's daddy's arm and
Right.
eat it.
Right.
And so a kid says, fine.
Because on the set, it was Bosco syrup,
Yeah.
and there was laughter and fun.
And it was Mom and Dad and everybody.
Yeah,
She loved it
no,
when, remember when when Dwayne pulls the dead woman,
corpse?
The skull that we see,
At the top of the steps.
and pull the corpse away,
Yes.
she lay down on the
That's
floor,
right.
we covered her with the carpet, and we pulled her away. So that's Kyra.
That was also my daughter, Kyra.
Oh, you mean she was in the carpet? Oh.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
So-
Keith,
Yes.
do your patients think you're famous?
Nope. They just think I'm good.
Okay.
Oh, look at
All
the
right.
man.
Okay, Tom, we're about to watch your version of Night of the Living Dead, finally, your remade version, which George Romero worked with you on. He produced and did the screenplay. How much did you want your actors to resemble the actors from the original movie?
Well, when you see the film, I wanted, that was a prime motive of mine, is to cast my actors to physically resemble everybody in the original movie, except for Barbara, because Barbara takes a twist that is not in the original film that you'll see. And also, the actress that I wanted does not resemble Barbara. So those two reasons, that's the only difference is Barbara. But everyone else, as you'll see, resembles the original cast. I didn't want the audience to feel a separation. I wanted to involve them. And so, the movie is so famous and everyone's so familiar with it.
It was almost too famous.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The more the people look like the original cast, I thought that I would be ahead of the game by doing that.
Yeah. Now, when you first announced this, I think a lot of people said, you know, why remake a classic movie? Because people thought it would be like remaking Psycho or something. So how did that come about? And did you have doubts about whether to do that?
No, I didn't care at all.
Oh, okay.
I didn't care. Why should I care? If somebody says, well, why are you making it? Well, there's a lot of reasons why we're making it. They remake classics all the time. You know, this is just, you know, I didn't care, to answer your question briefly.
But you were obviously a fan of the original film.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sure.
And was this something that George Romero had always wanted to do, or?
I can't answer for George. I don't know. I think he was shopping some projects around, and he was able to raise money for the title of Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I have to admit, I was one of those doubters at first. I thought, how can you remake this movie? But you convinced me because with color and special effects that you put in that they didn't have the advantage of in the first movie, and zombies that are really, you know, kind of out-zombie the original zombies, and you changed the story just enough to keep us going there, and I don't want to give that away, but
we can get to that later if you want.
Okay, we'll talk about that after the movie, but what do you guys think of the remake? Have you all seen the remake?
I was nervous going to see it.
Well, you had friends in the film, too.
Oh, yeah. But when I saw it, I thought it stands alone as its own film, and the original Night of the Living Dead still holds up. So they were two, in my mind, they were two distinctly unique films, and I enjoyed both of them.
And they very much, I think both of them have the style of their decade.
Yes, exactly.
And so it makes them very different films.
Which is why perhaps they stand apart, too. I wish you could see the uncut version of the film.
Ooh. Aren't we seeing the uncut version?
Oops.
We almost always show the uncut version.
This is the released version. No, that doesn't mean that uncut. It doesn't exist. An uncut version does not exist except for my library.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I'm talking about pre-credits, pre-music.
Oh, okay. So sorry, we can't show you the uncut version.
Did we show the nude in our version, the original?
Yes.
That's right, we did.
That was the uncut version.
Oh, and
don't
worry, there's nudity in ours, too.
Okay.
I don't think that was the
This one we're about to see is rated R. Check it out. We'll be back one more time with the Night of the Living Dead 25th anniversary reunion. Thank you.
No, nobody.
Well, there it is, a first on cable. Night of the Living Dead, both versions, 1968 and 1990, back-to-back in one double feature. And with me are the people that made it possible. Tom Savini, director of the remake we just saw. How about a hand for Tom? That's a very powerful movie, Tom.
Thank you. We've come
Congratulations on that. And then we were having so much fun with the cast from the 1968 flick that we asked them to stick around. Keith Hartman, Marilyn Eastman, Carl Hardman, Judy O'Day. And Tom, let me ask you, was that a big decision to change the character of Barbara so much? You mentioned it before we started the movie.
Well, George and I were at his house in Florida. We were talking about who can we bring back? And George says, nobody, they're all dead. And I thought a bit long. I said, well, not really. Barbara was only removed from the house. You never see her killed. Why doesn't she grab a gun or something and come back and help these people? And he took that, and he actually evolved her in the script into this Sigourney Weaver type female hero that we all know and love now, you know.
Do you guys like horror movies, or did you just happen to get involved with a horror movie? Marilyn, I know since you're an opera singer, a world pretty far removed from I thought you were with the Civic Light Opera.
Yes, but that doesn't mean...
You don't
that
sing?
means you're loud. That's just...
Sing for us.
You gotta be loud. You know, that doesn't mean you can sing.
Well, you don't, I'll put it this way, you don't strike me as a horror movie fan.
Oh, yes, I was.
You were?
I was.
Okay.
Although now they're too strong for me. I mean, now, it isn't that they frighten me as much as, you know, I just don't care about them as much now. But I never figured that Living Dead would be so frightening, and I had a couple of unsettling experiences with that, because even after it was released, I didn't find it that frightening. But I remember taking my kids and some of their friends to see it when it played at a local theater, and turning and looking at the little boy sitting next to me, who was a neighbor, and he was terror-stricken. And I felt so bad because I had brought him to see this, and I didn't really expect it to have that effect on him.
But he probably got home and said, Mom, I was terror-stricken. It was neat.
I don't know. But he was genuinely afraid.
But that's exactly the kind of reaction my children had. And they looked at me and they said, Dad, I can't believe it. This happened to you, didn't it? I said, no, that's a film.
They thought it was reality.
Yes. Yes, they did when they first... I mean, they were younger when they first saw it, not 14 and 12, but, you know.
Well, my daughter is 7, and every time we go to see a horror movie like Dracula, she wants to go back like 2 or 3 times, and we'll sit there, and she's 7, and she'll go, oh, no, that's gelatin, right? Now, is that human hair or yak hair?
Well, growing up in your house.
Well, exactly.
Sure.
You know what my kid said? My kid said, Mom, when he knocked you out, you crossed your eyes.
So did this movie change your lives in a way?
Oh, yes.
Yes?
Yes, I think so.
How?
It's,
No, that's your question.
oh, how?
Oh, how?
To say how, Joe.
Well, you told me you didn't make that much money off of the movie, right?
No, that's for sure.
But there must be, I mean, here 25 years later, people still want to see this movie over and over again. There must be some effect on you.
Well, your names will always be synonymous.
Yes, it's our little slice of immortality, if you will.
Yes.
You got it.
Every time I do a theatrical show, and in the credits, they'll put Night of the Living Dead, people react to that.
And you still have that. For me, it's just, that was a form of life.
Well, where are you in North Carolina?
Right outside of Raleigh, North Carolina.
Hey,
Terry.
we're on TV there. Now they're not going to leave you alone after this.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, I want to thank everybody for being here. This has been a great thrill for me. Y'all hang in there, make another one. We need more Pittsburgh movies.
Yes,
we're trying,
Ready
believe me.
to do it, Igor. I'm ready.
Next week on Drive-In Theater, which is Christmas weekend, by the way, we'll have a couple of excellent pictures from Full Moon Entertainment. Actually, 2 of the best ones that Full Moon has ever made. Doll Man, a comic action fantasy starring Tim Thomerson as a super cop from the planet Arturos, who travels 10,000 light years by mistake and lands in the South Bronx. And our second feature is The Pit and the Pendulum, the Stuart Gordon version, with Lance Henriksen as Torquemada, the impotent religious zealot and torturer, both 4-star movies, so check them out with us. This is Joe Bob Briggs and the cast of Night of the Living Dead and the director of Night of the Living Dead remake, 1990, reminding you that the drive-in will never die.
Absolutely.
No way.
Yes, yes.